for books? I have them. Hey guys, I'm Tiffany. Welcome back to the Book Skeptic. Today I'm talking about all the books I've read this year. Now, as the title says, I am quite the mood reader. The number of times over the years as a booktuber trying to come up with a TBR for the month, the number of times, I almost never stick to it. It's like, you try, it doesn't work out. And those of you who are mood readers, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Now, in January, I read 6 books, but that's really the big number as a month this year. It has not worked out well. Like, maybe 1, maybe 2 books in a month. Some ended up being straight 0. It has not been the reading year for me, and that's fine. Like, I've been doing other things, but it is one of those of like, hey, sometimes I want to read and I want to stinking finish the book. I'll tell you guys what, I joined this library summer reading challenge. Okay, like 1 book, 1 or 2 books in that time that I was doing the summer reading challenge I finished. But the number of times I kept picking up books and I kept trying books. And if you had to record, if you had to calculate all that I read, yeah, maybe it would be the equivalent of 1 or 2 more books. But they weren't together, so it doesn't count. And it's like, why can't I read? Now the good thing is, this month, November, I was able to read a couple more books. But like I said, I'm going to start from the beginning, so January, and then work my way down to November. Now the highlights of the books I've read: Only the Small Bones, Taylor Swift The Eras Tour book, Long Live, Unchosen, and Love Me Never. Now that I've read a couple books in November, I think I could also include The Wilde Trials as another book to highlight. Now I will say, it's like the lowest level of highlighting a book. Like, it was engaging, it had some fun moments, but it's definitely not like, oh my gosh, dude, you gotta read this book. This year, I did read 2 previously 5-star books. Now, one I had read at 15, and the other I had read at 19. I loved Angelfall when I first read it in the summer of 2016, but this reread did not hit at all. Now, I had figured this would be the case, so for years, I did not intend to reread it, but I thought it could be fun, especially with the writing quality of books coming out currently. It disappointed me. Now, I did leave it on Goodreads as 5 stars, but really, I'd have to rate it a 3 out of 5. Now, Love Me Never, I read in 2020, and that was also during the summer. I loved Isis as a character. She was a riot. She was so funny. Now, I had been conflicted at the time of giving it either a 4-star or 5-star, because there were some elements in the book I didn't like. Interestingly enough, I was stuck on the exact same thing this time around reading. I had so much fun getting back into the mind of Isis. Still as hilarious as I remember. So there was distaste I had for the book in 2020, and that's kind of how I felt also in 2025. So I did end up giving it a 4 stars, but it is a fun read and it's very smooth to get through. Now, my biggest disappointment of the year is Lights Out. Now, my in-person book club that I had joined at the time, they had hyped up this book, so I decided to pick it up. It was a big mistake. Huge. Now, if you only want XXX content, you'd probably enjoy it. Well, I am not one of those people. Even the description of the book had me thinking that Josh would be more of an understandable character, someone to root for. Absolutely not! He's very icky, boring, and sick in the head. I really don't understand not only the positive reviews on this, but the love for it. The quality of writing these days has been abysmal, and this book is an example of that. The structure is very off. We're suddenly thrust into this subplot that came in way too late and felt very clunky and awkward. Now, the biggest surprise was Unchosen. Now, I got this book for free from Epic Reads Insiders. If you join, you can submit surveys and it'll give you points, and then you can use those points to get a free ebook or audiobook. And I'll be real, I did not think this book was going to work for me. I did not expect it to be particularly enjoyable, but it was a lot of fun. Now, there are issues with the book. It's just not like, oh my gosh, amazing book, but it was fun. But it was a very pleasant surprise. talk about the synopsis of any of these stories when I filmed this, so this is me going ahead. So each part, as I talk about the 14 books I read so far this year, I will have a little clip just like this clip right here, and I'll describe it, in a quick 30 seconds, and then I'll have my review and everything. So that's the structure of how I'm going to do this. So Lights Out is about this girl. She's a trauma nurse, and she liked these TikTok videos of this masked guy, and it's in the style of a stalker, and many people, including her, they were interested in that sort of role play, and she had commented multiple times oh, I want that to happen to me. Now the main character guy in this story, he can hack into things, and so he was able to find her information, breaks into her home so that he can be there. Somehow this is a romance, and then it's just a whole lot of chaos. My review for Lights Out, literally my face right now. I read this book for my book club's recommendation. I did not like this book at all. The scenario did not appeal to me, and I did not like the characters. The subplot came in way too late, and it felt very clunky and awkward. The author did not do a good job at all connecting it to the rest of the story. If you want to read SEX, you'll definitely get it in this. But if you want a solidly executed story, you will be sorely disappointed just like me. It was a book I gave a try, but I will not be reading the sequel or any books from this author. 2 thumbs down. So in I Wish You Would, they're the senior high school class and they go to the beach. And one of the things they do as a class, it's a tradition, they write private letters to themselves, what they wish they would have done for the year. Now, the main character, the girl, she used to be the best of friends with this guy. Now, they almost crossed the lines from best friends to something more, and so now they've had a bit of a falling out. Things are very awkward, not going well, and so she had just pretty much written all that down in this letter, and so she tries to retrieve them, and so 7 letters end up missing on the beach, so she has to work with the guy so that they can get all the letters back. And a lot of shenanigans ensue. So my review on I Wish You Would, and I did know this was a Taylor Swift reference with the title and everything, and yes, the author does share that, oh yeah, she's all about Taylor Swift, so I was looking forward to this. I was like, this is gonna be fun. Well, let me tell you what I thought. This book started out quite promising. I was enjoying myself. However, things took a turn maybe 50 pages into the book. Miscommunication was of course going to be here, but it just wasn't interesting. I did like the cute moments between the 2 main characters, but so much of it was so blah. Originally, I'd given it a 3 out of 5 or a 2.5 out of 5, but then I dropped it down to a 2, because in general, I just was not enjoying myself that much. Some things were good, but a lot I was like, what are we even doing here, guys? So in Only the Small Bones, so the main character guy, he works with the FBI with human trafficking victims. And so they do this, they're able to retrieve some victims. There's this one victim who's very volatile and aggressive, but he is basically mute, so he doesn't talk at all. And so the main character decides to have him come to his home because he's done this before. And so there's a lot of things that go on, a lot of drama that goes on, and a lot of very serious, heartfelt things that happen throughout the book. Now, the next book I read was Only the Small Bones. This was a very good, heartbreaking book. It's definitely not an easy read, but it's worth reading. It had great character development and beautiful writing. Plenty of twists and turns throughout. So in A Dawn of Onyx, so the main character, she takes the place of her brother, and so she's taken away from her home into the very volatile and very bad kingdom, and so she's supposed to help with her special powers for poisons and stuff like that to cure people, all that sort of thing. And so The king is a pretty cruel guy, but obviously this is a romance, so things kind of spark for them. A Dawn of Onyx. Now this book is very slow paced. Majority of the story, nothing is happening. It felt like there were decent ingredients for a good romantasy, like nice sweet moments between the characters. But many parts felt missing or disjointed. It wasn't well crafted, I'd say. Some aspects I enjoyed, but it fell flat in many ways. So Beneath the Stars is a second chance romance. The two main characters, the boy and the girl, they had known each other as neighbors, and she loved him since she was 11 years old. She loved him. And eventually things work out well where he decides to take a chance. Now he's very broken. A lot of bad things happen to him in his life. So he ends up sabotaging things. He ruins things. He really hurts her, all that sort of thing. And so he leaves. And so then dynamics happen. Things work out when they're very much grown up and everything, where they come back together. And Chase comes back. That's the guy. Chase comes back. And obviously she is very angry at him. She does not want to forgive him. She does not want to deal with him. But like I said, second chance romance, so things go all sorts and everything like that. Next up, I read Beneath the Stars. Now, I will say multiple times while reading, I was enjoying myself. However, the execution of the story was quite weak. The guy totally put her through the ringer. Not that I saw chemistry between the two, but I did understand why other readers wanted Alina and Jax together instead. So I'd say, I guess you can read it if you want, but it is not worth over 400 pages. Like, contemporary, you guys have to stop. 300 something pages, 200 something pages, fine. 400, you gotta stop. It's never once has it been worth it. Now, the next book I read was the official Taylor Swift Eras Tour book. This was very nice. Now, I unfortunately did not get to go to the Eras Tour, but I did go to the Eras Tour movie. I've watched the Eras Tour on Disney+. I have definitely enjoyed this, and definitely getting the book. It was actually a really cool story. So, on Instagram last year, for Christmas time, it was the 12 Days of Christmas. So, the 26th till a couple days after New Year's Day, and I was the second winner. So I won one of the books, so they bought me a book, and then it arrived and everything at my house, and that was a really, really cool thing and moment. And in general, it just brings you so much joy, that book, and just seeing everything from the Eras Tour, it was just so nice, and it was a great day for me when I read this book. It was like, at the end of January, I had such a great time with it. In general, it's a great book, but it's also something that can really get you in good spirits if you're feeling down. So if you have a friend that's a Swiftie that has the book, I definitely recommend borrowing it because it's really fun. And I know it does have some errors and things. People have made note of it. I didn't see anything bad in my book. I really was happy with it. I'm very, very pleased that I own it. So very cool, exciting stuff. So in Comeback, basically it's brother's best friend. And so in this one, it turns out that she was adopted. And so then she rekindles her connection with her brother that she never met before. And so the brother's best friend doesn't trust her for that. Is a little like, he has money, he's a football player, what is her angle? I don't trust her, that sort of thing. So he's very much not nice to her and everything, but obviously this is a romance and things are gonna come together, and so they, really start to get to know each other as the book goes on. Next I read Comeback. Ugh, this actually seemed like it had potential. It started fine enough. But this book should have ended at 47% into the story. So much nothing. It was so boring. I only finished it to get it over with. It was a total waste of time. Next, I read Long Live. I really enjoyed myself with this one. It was very informative and very very cute with all the colors and designs on each page. I was irritated with the number of times the author would bring up Beyonce. So I'm reading Long Live, and I have to say, so they keep giving a lot of props to Taylor, of course, but they keep mentioning Beyonce. And it's like that part in The Office with Gabe, where he's like, shut up about the sun! Shut up about the sun! Like, really, I do not care about Beyonce. Is this her book? No, it's about Taylor, so just shut up about her. Other than that, though, this was a great time. I provided plenty of information on Taylor Swift I never heard before. And of course, plenty I already knew. It's definitely worth reading for any Swiftie. So in Lavender Clouds, basically they're just little comics as the author shares her experience with several of her mental health issues and everything like that. So it very much deals with mental health, and that is the primary focus of all the comics. Next up is Lavender Clouds. Now, I did think the comics were stronger in the beginning. Somewhere around the middle, the author lost me. I'd say this book focuses on the negative aspects of mental health, so that readers know they're not alone. But there really weren't any coping mechanisms presented. For Charlotte Holloway, the world ended twice. The first was when her childhood crush Dean fell in love with her older sister. The second was when the Crimson, a curse spread through eye contact, turned the majority of humanity into flesh-eating monsters. Neither end of the world changed Charlotte. She's still in the shadows of her siblings. Her popular older sister Harlow now commands forces of survivors, and her talented younger sister Vanessa is the chosen one, who, legend has it, can end the curse. When their settlement is raided by those seeking the chosen one, Charlotte makes a reckless decision to save Vanessa. She takes her place as prisoner. The word spreads across the seven seas. The chosen one has been found. But when Dean's life is threatened and a resistance looms on the horizon, the lie keeping Charlotte alive begins to unravel. She'll have to break free, forge new bonds, and choose her own destiny if she has any hope of saving her sisters, her love, and maybe even the world, because sometimes the end is just a new beginning. Next up was Unchosen, and I gotta say, this cover is so cool. This was a pretty fun story. The pacing was a bit off. It took a really long time to get going. Now, once she met the pirate crew, the book got really good. The banter between Charlotte and Seth was chef's kiss. It was so good. I enjoyed myself quite a bit. The lore and world building were a bit weak, but overall a fun time. And like I said, with like the pirate crew and the banter and everything, I was talking to an author. She was actually part of my in-person book club. We were kind of talking, and it seems a little similar, her book, to Unchosen and everything. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading Brianna Remus's Of the Stars and Sea. That is definitely up on my TBR. Now that I'm getting back into reading, I'm definitely looking forward to reading this. So Angelfall is about 6 weeks after the angel apocalypse. And so there are angels that attack this other angel. They cut off his wings and everything. And so the main character, Penryn, her sister, is taken by these angels. So she has to work with this angel to get her back. And so their motivation for her, for Penryn, her motivation is to get her sister back. And for Raph, his motivation is to get his wings back. And there is a romance between the two of them. And I gotta tell you guys, it is so good. Next up, I reread Angelfall. So first I read it in summer 2016, and this year I read it in May. So this has been one of my all-time favorite books. I haven't tried to read it again because I didn't want to ruin the amazing experience I had when I read it for the first time. But in 2021, my friend Robin from the book Wormhole and I, we read The Fifth Wave together. We did a nice little buddy read together. We did a live show together. And it was her first time reading. She really likes sci-fi. And for me, this was a book I loved so much. And when I did this reread, I absolutely loved it. I still would give it a 5 out of 5. So with Angelfall, I figured this is going to work out great. Getting back into a new favorite and everything. Plus, with books these days, they just don't hit the same as books from the past. Now, unfortunately, my reread on Angelfall, it was not how I expected. It took a while to get into reading it. The scenes I loved so much the first time, they didn't hit the same. And I was left feeling disappointed and underwhelmed after reading. Is it still a good book? such a special place in my heart for so long that reading it this time, it just felt so meh. Oh well, I guess. You can't win them all with a reread, right? So Love Me Never is about these two people. So Isis, she is new to school and she used to weigh a lot, and so she lost weight, and in general some really bad traumatic things happened to her in her past. So she hasn't fallen in love in over 3 years. And so then comes in Jack, and she cannot stand him. He is well loved by all the people at the school and everything, and so they each really get on each other's nerves, and so they have like this whole battle. They do some really reckless things. They really mess around with each other. It gets pretty crazy and chaotic, but it's a very funny book. There's a lot of things that happen here, but it is definitely a book that I gotta say I recommend. Next up, I did another reread, so I reread Love Me Never. This reread really sucked me in at the beginning. I still had fun, though maybe not as much as the first time around. So from January to June, those were the 12 books I read. There were like a month or two where I didn't read anything in a month, and I'm like, okay, that's something that happened, but this is going to work out fine. That is not what happened. July, August, September, October, 4 months. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But then it ended up working really well with November. There were books I read during that 4-month time I was trying to read, but I didn't get into them very much. So the first book I finally finished after 5 months of just not being able to finish a book was The Wilde Trials. So The Wilde Trials is about this prep school, so they're high school students, and so a select number of students are selected based on their grades, based on recommendations from teachers and everything. So basically they get to skip finals at the end of the year, and so for 2 weeks they're doing these trials. Now there's 7 Wilde trials. There's a lot of conflict for the main character. Now she got into the school on scholarship. Everyone else is very rich. Now, she used to have a really good connection with this guy, Hayes. They used to be in a romantic relationship. They were very serious with each other, and consequently, she was in a lot of friendships with these people that he had surrounded himself with. But then when they break up, there's all this drama and everything, so she has basically been a social pariah, and so things are not going well for her. But there's a whole mystery happening because they're both at the Wilde trials. And so then some bad things are happening to her. She's being sabotaged. Some very bad things are happening. Her life is being threatened. And so she has to work with Hayes. And it's definitely a second chance romance, but it's very much a focus on the mystery aspect. So I guess you would call that mystery with a romantic subplot. It did take a while for this book to get going, but the middle part of the book was really engaging, with Chloe and Hayes teaming up and working through the mystery. The beginning and ending were a bit weak, and I didn't care much for the setting, but I had a decent time. Like I'm saying, finally, I read a book. I finished a book since June, so hooray! So apparently this book is considered dark academia. I think that's kind of why I was a little set off by it. I was a little bored by it. I need more things to happen. I like mystery. I do like mystery settings. I like romance. So the mystery and romance, those were the things that were really hooking me in. But like this whole thing with this old house of this school that started, and they're rich, and they have this prep school they're a part of. And even the trials, because that's why it's called the Wilde Trials, the trials aren't interesting. They're not fun. And I'm not saying we need the Hunger Games up in here or anything, but like, give us something more to work with, people. Like, this was so boring. So again, there were things I appreciated. I did give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I still enjoyed myself. But there were aspects to it where it's like, oh my goodness, you really, lady, you really could have made much more interesting things happen in this book. Amelia. They say love and hate are the same things experienced under different circumstances, and it's true. The man who comes to me in my dreams also haunts me in my nightmares. He is a brilliant lawyer, a skilled criminal, a beautiful liar, a bully and a savior, a monster and a lover. 10 years ago, he made me run away from the small town where we lived. Now he came for me in New York, and he isn't leaving until he takes me with him. Vicious. She is a starving artist, pretty and evasive like cherry blossom. 10 years ago, she barged into my life unannounced and turned everything upside down. She paid the price. Amelia LeBlanc is completely off limits, my best friend's ex-girlfriend. The woman who knows my darkest secret, and the daughter of the cheap help we hired to take care of our estate. That should deter me from chasing her, but it doesn't. So she hates me. Big deal. She better get used to me. And the last book I've read so far this year, my 14th book this year, was Vicious. This was an awful, awful story. Waste of time. And the worst guy ever! There's no change up, he's just an asshole the whole book. Poor girl's lost her mind to be with him. Now I did end up reading this book very unconventionally. I did not read this book in the typical way, and I've never read a book like this, and I probably won't do it again. It was just something that happened this time around. I skipped to about page 80, and I finished the book. And then I read the beginning that I had skipped. Now the beginning, as I'm sure you can imagine, it did clear up some things that I was a little confused by as I was reading in this very different kind of way. Now this is a book that had been on my TBR for years, but I definitely wish I hadn't. It is readable, sure, but that's really the only reason I stuck with it, given the fact that I'd been in this major reading slump for months. LJ Shen is a real weirdo. Why is she romanticizing the worst men to ever exist? 100% not reading from her again. The Devil Wears Black, which is a book I read back in 2023, it was really bad too. I'm not going to make that same mistake again reading any of her awful books. So this year's been interesting. I am proud of myself because during my time being on BookTube the last 5 years, there are times where it's like I'm forcing myself to read. For example, in 2022, I was not able to read at all, so I ended up reading these very tiny little books so that I could say, I'm reading. But in general, I'm having much more fun doing other things. I actually have been able to make some friends and join some new activities, doing some new things that I haven't, or something that I have for a couple years, and I'm just doing that more. So that's been really great. I've still been doing my movie channel. If you do want to see more from me, go ahead and check out the Cinematic Reviewer. But I am definitely going to do my best to at least update then and again on this channel. It's just one of those of I really wasn't reading, which is kind of why it's what can I talk about with a book channel? Hey guys, remember books? I have them, but that's about it. But I am happy about the fact that I have been able to read more. Now I'm currently reading this arc, The Cuffing Game. Now this is a book I got from Epic Reads Insiders, so it's definitely getting interesting. I'm not going to say it's a perfect book, and the only reason I say that is, so the guy, the romantic interest, he's more like the TikTok type, the short form content type. And if you've done any sort of looking around online to see what the data says about how it affects our brains, how it affects our attention, and very good positive things for ourselves, our bodies and everything, it is very bad for us. And the whole thing that starts in this book is this argument. So the girl, the main character girl, she's like, yeah, this isn't good. I disagree with short form content. And for some reason, he has this whole argument that it is good or it does help. And for some stupid reason, the author decided to write that all these other college students agreed with him, and it's it frustrates me so much. I fit in the same demographic. I don't agree with this stuff, okay? We need to get back into long-form content. We need to get back to it. So anyway, this is definitely a book I'm looking forward to reading. It's like cuffing season, and so she's going to do this kind of documentary reality show, and he's going to be a part of it. And so I definitely hope this is good. I hope this guy will be more likable as I continue reading, because so far I'm don't like you, dude. And part of it has a big thing to do with the fact that he's into short form content and making that stuff. And he's like, oh, it's so hard to do this. I'm like, whatever, guy. So that's about it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, comment below, and if you liked this video and would like to see more bookish content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time. Bye!